So we are going to start with Matthew chapter 27, beginning with the 45th verse. We probably won't start talking about there, but I like to lead into what we're talking about. And we're going to go ahead and listen to all the way through chapter 28. 28 is not very long, and so I figured that would be a good way of doing it. So here we go.
Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice,
Elo, lama sabachthani.
that is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of those who stood there when they heard that said,
This man is calling for Elijah.
Immediately one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink.
Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to save him.
And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and yielded up his spirit. Then, behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened. And many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly.
Truly, this was the Son of God.
And many women who followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there, looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Now when evening had come, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be given to him. When Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and departed. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary, sitting opposite the tomb. On the next day, which followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees gathered together to Pilate.
Sir, we remember while he was still alive how that deceiver said, After 3 days I will rise. Therefore, command that the tomb be made secure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away and say to the people, He has risen from the dead. So the last deception will be worse than the first.
You have a guard. Go your way. Make it as secure as you know how.
So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard. Now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. His countenance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow. and the guards shook for fear of him and became like dead men. But the angel answered and said to the women,
Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead, and indeed he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, I have told you.
So they went out quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them.
Rejoice.
So they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him.
Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me.
Now while they were going, behold, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief priests all the things that had happened. When they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers.
Tell them his disciples came at night and stole him away while we slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will appease him and make you secure.
So they took the money and did as they were instructed. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke to them.
All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
Amen.
Okay. All right. So when we're looking at the end of 27 there, what kind of stands out to you? What kind of stands out to you? I think we were officially up to what, 62? Is that what we're officially up to? But I think, or maybe it's 57.
Somewhere.
Okay, so all that stuff. So
I turned away from it on podcast.
yeah. So the things that we talked about it last week, but I think are good to kind of say again here for just a second, is the temple curtain was in two, ripped in two. The thing we didn't say, which that kind of means that God's Spirit's on the loose now, and that's that to me is kind of the loosening of the Spirit, and Matthew's way of talking about what Acts talks about Pentecost. Don't look at that any deeper than that, or it'll make your noodle burn. But I think that's that's being accomplished. There's the Spirit of God's on loose.
So you're saying that the Spirit of God was trapped behind the curtain and it wasn't loose before that?
So the way that the Jews viewed the way God's work was like a Venn diagram. And so you had in the creation, there's actually a lot of recreation going on in the resurrection narrative here. The way they viewed how the world worked was that in Genesis 1, that God's space is like a circle, and then our space is like a circle, and the two circles were overlapping completely. Then in the fall, that broke apart God's space and our space. And then when the temple was created, when the tabernacle was created, it created like a Venn diagram where God's space would interact with our space there in the temple grounds. This is like they're in the Holy of Holies specifically. And This is the Hebrew concept of how God. It's not that he wasn't working in the world. That's not that. But that was God's space and our space overlapped in that, and then in the resurrection and the loosing of the Spirit. This is really fleshed out in Acts, and then also in Paul. Is that we then, the believers, become the temples, that we are the places where the God space and the creation overlap and become the whole, place. So like that's kind of what's happening, is that God moves from that temple into the temple here, type of thing. It's a little more complicated than that, like that, but that's over there. So that's kind of like what do you have anything for that?
Why would I give you?
Oh, it's flawless. It's flawless. No.
No, you used the term that God's Spirit was now loose. And I kind of felt like his Spirit was out in the world already. So
yeah,
the curtain wasn't holding God back.
Yeah.
It's just holding the access of the people. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was trying to go. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Well, and that's yeah. I mean, God is working in the creation before that, but the temple was definitely the hotspot of God's presence, and that is now.
Once the curtain is torn, though, the people have access.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. God. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, that's good. That's. I butcher the English language on a near constant basis. And so much yet that's, the help I can get. And you're preaching. I know, exactly. That's what's so troubling.
At least you're self-aware.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have books to read. Other people to help.
Yeah. And so we have Earth.
We've got these names other for a while.
Oh yeah. So the earthquake, and the rock split. You also have an earthquake in the resurrection too.
That was nowhere else does it say anything about earthquakes.
Yeah. So the other gospels, okay,
don't have earthquakes.
So like kind of looking at both of those there. Why do you think Matthew, especially if the other gospels are doing it, why is Matthew wasting parchment space, which would have been expensive, and ink on talking about earthquakes? What do you think?
There's a way you formed the question, wasting, or suggesting something, but I'm not sure what.
Oh, when I say wasting, when it comes to all this stuff, paper, parchment, what they would have been writing on, was very expensive. And it's weird that something this long exists back then. Like that's, especially in the New Testament forms, like this stuff just, it was expensive. It was expensive to write this stuff down. So like, why is he writing about it? So like, generally most words are important. Like that they're like, because it was costly, so like, because I can write a Facebook post and it means nothing, and 20 people will see it, one person will like it, and then it'll be forgotten for the rest of our lives. We treat words with such flippancy, the written word that way, so easy to publish, and so it's different back then. So like, yeah.
No, when I hear about earthquakes, I always go back to into First Kings, when Elijah's in the cave, there was an earthquake.
Okay.
I wasn't in the earthquake.
Yeah.
And so I take the symbolism of the earthquake as being a loud presence of something.
Yeah.
And I don't interpret it to me anything more than God shaking.
Okay, so like a loudness type of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I would think
kind of almost like the loud voice type of idea.
A little angel coming down, it's like a helicopter. Those wings were flapping as he came down.
Yeah.
Kids.
No, I thought of it more like, wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just,
Yeah.
this is important.
Yeah. It's like a wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's interesting that it's in both spots. It's in both spots. I always look at through everything through this lens of Genesis. I mean, obviously, it's been warriors, but I'm here. And so, like that's, but
You'll have a much smaller group.
yeah, okay.
Unless you usually don't. I mean,
It's tiny. But it's it is a creation. It's almost like that Paul line. Creation is growth, but you also have this like it's like it descends into an earthquake and it comes out of an earthquake too. Like in this like great thing, because in 28 you see like after that earthquake, you see what Jesus looks like, and he looks like the first day of creation. You know, his appearance is like lightning. I was going to look at that word.
Yeah.
Like that's. Let's see here. What is this? Matthew 28. What were you going to say, Gloria?
It's 28:3.
28:3.
It's outwards.
Wow. His appearance was like lightning. No, that's not what I wanted. I want the interlinear. Oh, you got to tell Google the right words or to give you the correct thing. All right. So, okay. So it.
It's not supporting his argument.
Okay, no, it is. It is. The root word. No, it is. The root word is in Greek is also similar for like light, which is also used for stars and all of that stuff. No, it is. It is. So like that's so it is the root word sounds a lot like just light in general. And so like he looks, it says it's the word for lightning, but
Is it more like the light that Moses saw that never had to have the veil over his face?
Yeah.
Was it that kind of light, you think?
I'm not sure. It could be like I think it was. So the word that was being used is it looked like the way the Greek words it is that it's the word for lightning, but the root word for it is like light, how we understand light, but also that root word is being used for lights like stars. Mm-hmm. Like their word for stars were also light was the Greek word. So like, I don't know, maybe we would say pico light. This is little, like little lights type of thing like that. This is how it's being used. So I think maybe, that you have that sense of light going on there. And then you also have his clothes were white as snow too.
They didn't even have snow back in the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Well, they would have.
I just looked it up.
Yeah. They had mountaintops.
They had mountain snow.
Yeah.
Especially in the Jerusalem area. So.
Yeah. Jerusalem's very high.
Yeah.
Jerusalem, it's not like high like Denver, but it's kind of, that's one of the reasons why that city exists. Yeah.
Yeah, that they use that white as snow a lot, or a few times in the Bible. And I wondered about that. I know I've looked it up before, but the 80 plus rain.
And so, yeah, it's pretty high up in Jerusalem. That's what made it so defensible, made it a good place for a city because it was above everything else. And your enemy was having to run uphill to get you. Yeah, like that.
You could always roll stones down the hill.
Yeah. You make a lot of stuff go downhill. They and so going back to 27 for a second, at verse 55, you had all the women there. The women around the tomb and the women there, I think, are also saying a narrative and although I forgot to do it this year, but the first time that someone says he is risen, I like for it to be a woman in the congregation to say he is risen, because like I think that's honoring the original narrative, because the fact that the gospel writers are putting, and they all do this, like that on these women is this area was super patriarchal, like that, and the fact that they're doing that is at the end of the story of Jesus. It's almost just like the beginning, where Jesus is born in humbleness, and all these things, and very much like Moses and Matthew, amidst death and like all that stuff all around him. He's kind of the same humbleness as being displayed in the midst of all the glory at the same time. And I think women there are a show of that.
Absolutely.
And by the gospel writers, which I think is really, it's really cool. And I think being around structures of church bodies as long as I have, we really diminish that a lot of times. And so like that's so
And all the gospel writers report the women.
yeah, they all do. Like that is something that is going through all of them, and that's, and we can't overlook that. Let's see. So you have that, and then, so I didn't really notice this. Verse 56, so it's listing off all the people. So Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. That's the woman who did the request. Yeah. Like, yeah. Now, like that is I think is that this week? I've done 2 bulletins this week, so I'm not sure. It might be this week or next week. That's the gospel reading, either this week or next week. Like that. That's
I'll find out in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or 2 hours.
Yeah. And so exactly. And so like that's kind of fun. That she's there. So then you have Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah.
And what stands out to you about Joseph? What's going on? Is an interesting man.
He was a rich man.
And
he was a follower of Jesus.
Rich man, follower of Jesus. Yep.
Foreigner.
Yeah, he was from Arimathea. What did you say?
What he was from, Joseph?
Arimathea.
Yeah.
Arimathea. So he's a foreigner. So again, like we look and see what's happening here at the end. You have all these ladies, and you have this foreigner. Like that. That's this.
How about who was with him? It doesn't tell you in this book.
Well, John connects Nicodemus.
Nicodemus.
Yeah. John.
I thought that was interesting that Nicodemus was there.
Yeah. John connects Nicodemus because that's one of John's through lines in his gospel is the faith of Nicodemus. Because there's a lot of people that think Nicodemus was in John 3 that he's being like that he's already like converted there. It's like I don't think so. I think we see a guy that gets converted through the whole book. That's one of John's through lines, and we see him there when it counts at the end. That Nicodemus in the Gospel of John is like the one guy that's righteous. Like that. Like that's it doesn't abandon.
Like Joseph, he wasn't in the spotlight either because he kind of kept it quiet, but he was a follower.
Yeah. So we have this Joseph, foreigner. That's a great what's it called? Observation. New tomb, like that's hewn out of the rock. So it's all these things are new. The way that they would do the dead back in is it would be all these little alcoves. If you ever seen like catacombs or something like that, all these alcoves, and then there'd be places where they put the body would decompose, and then after the body would decompose, they would take all the bones, put them together in like a box or something, and then put it in the tomb. So that's kind of, they treated it differently than how we do today. And so this was a new tomb. There wasn't anyone in there. And you have, the two Marys sitting, there at the tomb, and they're there during the resurrection too. Now, Pilate sets the guards on the side. Why do you think this is there? Because we have some similarities with the story about the soldiers are bribed in 28. And, it's like this is kind of the same story that's going on between these two. Why do you think that's there? Like that's
why they pay them, man.
Yeah, well, why do they pay them? Why is this written down? What is Matthew wanting us to see by writing this?
The Jews are hiding something.
That the Jews are hiding something?
Well, they don't want anyone to know that there's a resurrection, so they want to create an argument or a storyline that says the body was stolen.
Yeah.
They also want to prevent it from being stolen.
Well, on one side, yes.
Yeah. And so they have this kind of narrative line there, kind of going through there.
Perhaps it suggests that the bad guys in your reports know this is the real deal. And they're covering their bets. He's going to be resurrected. They've had this unspoken knowledge of this man, Christ, and they keep their actions are motivated by their fear that they're right. Then again, at every opportunity, if it takes money, we're going to do that. Again, Judas, everybody has to be bought off in order to secure their loyalty or their fealty, as it were. But the priests understood, again, unspokenly, knew that Jesus. Does that make any sense?
Well, it does. I mean, it plays off of what you read earlier. When the earthquake happened in the temple, he yells out this, and this man is truly the Son of God.
Yeah.
So I think your point that they were related to this, they had to do something to ensure that their story would be disrupted.
To Quibble, the Son of God is uttered by a centurion,
Right.
by a priest.
But there are others.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question for you then, Matt, are you saying that there's a grand narrative going through here, that all the signs about that Jesus is the Son of God? Like, it feels like you just made that argument.
Very perceptive. It's a shame it goes away.
I really like that argument. There was an astuteness to it.
Of course,
You got something right.
But I think to tag on to what you're saying, like, I think it's like further, and I hadn't seen this, and that's the thing too. There's this narrative that I was calling a couple weeks ago, like, God is not mocked, because of all these people are meaning for it to be mockery, but they're just saying true things. And I think maybe this is still part of that narrative where it's like they keep trying to hide it, but in their trying to hide it, they're revealing that it's actually true. Like that's
hiding it, they're confirming it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so like that's really cool. That's really
So, do I get a prize?
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations. Sure. Yeah. It's a broken piece of plastic. We don't know where it is. We don't know where it's from.
It fell on the floor, and I picked it up and awarded it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's made its round around the table.
So then let's see here. So they put the guard there, sealing the stone and all of that. And so then at the beginning of 28, we already talked about some of this, but the verse 1 is, now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to the tomb. And why I'm taking this creation narrative so much is that it's saying the words of the creation.
On the first.
First day, like all of this stuff. And so, you have this great earthquake, which is, like the grounds, the creation itself. Yeah, the creation itself. It reminds me of like the one before, like with the earthquake. It reminds me of Paul's phrase, and maybe Paul's pulling this from this, where he says like the whole creation grumbles, or the whole creation groans. Like all those things. Like is Paul kind of taking the story, kind of like that, and wrapping it into the wrapper that he wants to use it for, type of thing. I'll charge you guys on something fun. We're doing a move that is like that. We are connecting imagery from chapter 4 of 2 Timothy, imagery that Paul uses connected to something in and around the last couple of weeks that we've been talking about in the gospel. I'll see if you guys can find it on Sunday before the sermon. Let me know what you think it is. Right, but I was like, that's so. I don't know if Paul's thinking of having the sermon, and I don't know if he's thinking about there, but it sounds familiar. And then you see this creation still going forward with, like, all of a sudden he's light, like that's something that's white, and it's not just light, like it's like lightning, like it is light. We have these things. I could have probably this afternoon a flashlight that we could hold in our hands that would be just dumb bright. Like they have flashlights that you can buy on Amazon that should be illegal. I don't know if you've seen any of these. It's whenever I see a video of it online, I always laugh, and because it just makes day all of a sudden. And so we have that. But if you think about, like the brightest light you would have had would have maybe been like a fire next to a reflector, to accumulate and shoot it out, so like they're going for like a light, the brightest thing they see.
Yeah. Well, lightning would have been brighter than the sun.
Yeah.
Whiter than the sun.
Yeah. Do you guys know what thunder is? Do you know like what it is? Like I know you like the sound. It's the lightning is so hot that it's causing the air to explode, and that's what thunder is. Like that. That's
The machine just bowling.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's got to it. Like it's my mother and father.
I can't. There was no stork either.
It is literally the atmosphere exploding, which is bonkers. So
I hate this class.
Yeah, I hate this class. Okay, so you have this. What I think are, you have all these things that sound like the created order again, and the whole thing is the women are there now. When you think about the creative order, think about verse 4, and the guards shook with fear of him because it became like dead men.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting. I don't know what to do with that. You guys have anything there?
Like they fainted.
They fainted? Yeah.
They Salinas.
Yeah.
How do they shake on heavens?
Yeah. They fainted.
They convulsed.
And then the angel said to the women, like, don't be afraid. You seek Jesus who was crucified. He's not here. He is risen. He's risen indeed. Hallelujah. And he said, come see the place where he lay and go. And then she takes him like, see, he's not here. And then they're like, go tell the disciples. Now, Mark, that's my favorite verse, is go tell the disciples and Peter. Like that. And that's why I always like every one of these gospels is telling a little bit of a different story. Like Mark wants to reconcile Peter to all of this stuff. You know, like John is a different way of doing it. We're talking about Nicodemus, you know, and all these things. John deals with the doubting. Like Luke has a completely different way of dealing with all this too. Luke has what we think is the first sacrament of the altar with the road to Emmaus. You know, like that's, you know, we have all these things that we're dealing with here. And Matthew here is like, go tell the disciples, go to the disciples, and think about the through line that we've been playing with. And it's a very similar to that Peter one that Mark was dealing with, is that everybody has left. You know, everybody left Jesus. And then here the angel is like, go tell the disciples. Like it's going to be okay. You know, like that's, go collect the boys. You know, they've all run away. And it's not like go to the next town and get them. Like we'll meet them in Galilee. They're probably, Matthew's assumption is almost like they're everywhere. Like go collect them. And so like he's risen from the dead. Indeed, he's going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, as I told you. Let's see. So they went quickly from the tomb with great joy, and they ran to bring his disciples with him. So let's see.
Do we have a circle where we start in Galilee and then Galilee?
So I think so. I was about to say something about that, but I didn't have anywhere good to go with it. So I think that's a good way of putting it. Like you're starting in there and kind of going back to there. Do you want to add anything more to that?
You've done it well.
No. Well, that's no. Like it was. You know, I think there's validity, especially with how the Great Commission goes here in a second. And we'll get to that. So, let's see. So verse 9. I'm just going to read this again. And the women that went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, rejoice. So they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee. So they basically say it again. Go to Galilee. There they will see me. And we talked about the soldiers being bribed. You know, we kind of already talked about that a little bit. That, you know, they're like, hey, these are kind of bad actors. Like this didn't actually happen. And so thereby, even the evil ones are saying that this is true type of thing. That's a fun way of looking at it. So then the 11 disciples are off and went away to the mountain to which Jesus had appointed for them. I have a reason why mountain is important. Why is there a mountain? Why is it like again? He's using Eve to say something. What do you think of mountains?
Moses.
Yeah, I think so. Moses. Matthew goes way out of his way. We talked about it on this last Sunday for us to see the connection between Moses and Jesus, and ringing a bell. That's my favorite way of putting it, saying that he's saving the world again. And just like Moses goes up on Sinai to get the covenant, he sees Jesus, like Gloria was just talking about that earlier, like seeing the light, and like he was veiled and all that stuff. Like that's it, all this stuff sounds familiar. Like it sounds familiar. And it's almost like we're walking this resurrection here. It's almost like we're walking to this Exodus. In that Exodus, walking through it there. And we actually it's good. So they go onto this mountain, and then it says that they worshipped him, but then some doubted. So why do you think that's in there? That's almost that's a weird. They worshipped him, but some doubted. What do you think?
Did this happen before or after he met him at the room where he went in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like this
Can we Thomas again?
yeah, like that's. Well, I wonder if Matthew is doing the same story that John is doing, but John, he uses an entire page of text to write that down, about doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
And I think he made like talking about that same thing. It's like, yeah, like they worship it so doubted. And I think he's saying something about even us as we live in these resurrected times. Like that he's saying something to us as well. Like that's where we may have the same doubts at times.
If we could drop back to the mountain,
Yeah.
many things through the whole Bible happen on mountains,
It's true.
good and bad.
Well,
And starting on the mount, the feeding of 5,000, the resurrection.
the transfiguration, was that in Matthew?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Just the name.
Yeah. Like the transfiguration was is up there. Remember, he became bright and shiny there too. And so like that's the so like all these mountain things. Yeah, that's a good point.
Carried bad reasons.
Yeah. The LED technology before the rest of it. That's the power of Jesus. And still needed batteries. So from the mountain, he says, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. And that is a Hebrew phrase to ever have one, like the sky and the creation, like everything. Because remember, like that's kind of how the creative order kind of all works there. Like it's all kind of everything has been given to me. And he goes, go therefore and make disciples of all nations and baptizing them in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That all nations, again, we're seeing he got upset when they were selling in the temple in the court of the Gentiles. We have this Gentile, Joseph of Arimathea, that's leading him here. Like it's not surprising that he says, go baptize of all nations. We have been seeing it through this whole story that Jesus has been pushing outside of just the bounds of what are known as God's people, right? Like we also have to remember is the original covenant with Abraham was that they were blessed to be a blessing. I hate that phrase. There's no better way to say it. Like but they were a blessed people to be a blessing to the rest of the nations, and Israel refused to do that. So like that's, and so he's like, go out from here, and you're baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We make a strong connection with baptism, with going through the Red Sea, and also the Sea of Noah. Noah going through the flood waters. We connect back, also crossing the Jordan too, in some ways, that you're kind of crossing in God's presence in safety. And so like, I like that, we're talking about Sinai, we're talking about mountains, we're talking about all these things. And all of a sudden baptism, the sea imagery coming up through there once again. And we see the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then the last verse here, and this was one of the first things I saw in Matthew, is that teaching them to observe all things that I've commanded you. And lo, and we also have to remember this, teaching all things I've commanded you. If you remember, what was it, chapter 12, verse 7? See if I'm right. Yep. But if you had known what this means, nope, it wasn't. Maybe it was 7, verse 12. I'm impressed, It's, yeah.
Favorite's a different Bible.
Yeah. So yeah, it's 7 verse 12. This is the dyslexic. Yeah. So there. Yeah, medical problem. That's a lot. Medical problem. So therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets.
Oh, they did do that.
Yeah, golden rule. Like this is the law and the prophets. And what we see is God's command through Jesus is like loving and caring, right? Like to like your best. And so when we get to his commands, a lot of times we go straight to that. Oh, Jesus saying like strict law. I'm like, oh, that sounds like no, that's not what his command is. That's not what his command is. And then he says this, and lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. So, what does that sound like? Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. There's a word that we use to describe lo, I am with you.
Sounds like the entire gospel.
Sounds like the entire gospel? Now, what do you mean by that?
That's what he came for.
You got it?
And that's for us to do.
Yeah. And so I say the word is Emmanuel. Yeah. God with us, right? Because if you remember when the angel comes to Joseph, he says, behold, or lo, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they will name him Emmanuel. And I think one of the things we see all through this gospel is that God is Emmanuel with Jesus, that he is with his people, even when this is good. Even when they all desert him, the first thing he does is that he's still Emmanuel. It's like, go get the deserters. Go get those deserters. Like go get theirs, because he is with them even to the end of everything, end of the age.
Never.
Yeah. So like that's yeah. And so like that's my little preaching on this. What do you guys think about this ending part? And what do you think of Matthew? And what stood out to you in this end and like in the whole thing? The Emmanuel thing is my thing. Good. like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once you could reiterate it, helps my ego. Yes.
My right is.
Because I'm based off of criticism and praise. I don't know.
No, I kind of always thought Matthew maybe was running out of ink or running out of paper because he just
all of a sudden just got
yeah.
Yeah, it's because he wasted too much ink on other parts of it.
Earthquakes. So, do you still feel that way? Do you like what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, there was which other one is it that where John was an alternate ending?
Yeah, John doesn't stop. He just like we end it and like let's talk about this stuff on the page.
We'll give you some more.
Yeah. Like that. John just keeps going in the resurrection. Like that's that's it. Yeah, it's like in Mark, really, Mark, and this is Chris's opinion. But he basically ends right there with the women run away scared. And then we have the unofficial ending there. That's where all the snake handling is in and all that stuff. But I think all of that sounds like the end of Acts. I think that's just that ending of Mark. It's like greatest hits of Acts. And so that's. Yeah, I mean, you have the snake handling and all that stuff. Pam, did you want to say something?
I had really never caught the full correlation of Moses and all of that, running through it as a thread, with the current story that Matthew gives. I mean, that was something new to me. And I'd read a little bit of Matthew and I could see the story what I'm reading point blank. And I thought that was really, really good insight for me, how you brought up, all of that. What Moses and Jesus kind of is,
Yeah, exactly.
after the fact.
And because you got to remember that Matthew is attributed as Levi, which you would have been. It's whether or not he wrote it or not. That's like all that stuff. The author, what's not disputed about the authorship is the author is writing from that perspective of someone that would have been very familiar with the Levitical way of life, with the Levite way of life. And so, you think about Moses and how important it is, how important that story of Moses is to not just the Jewish way of life, but to the priestly class. That's a huge revelation. And it's one of those things, Pam, like when you see it, you can never unsee it. It's like it's just coming off the page. Yeah, that's great. It's fun it's fun doing the resurrection again there and seeing it once again, like what talking about the mountain, like that stuff. I wasn't all that aware. So that's
my title for Matthew is the theme is Christ the King.
Christ the King.
They used to train.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
See that as you go through it.
Yeah. Yes, you can. You can. Like Christ is the truth Lord. Yeah. I would say that Christ the King going all through there, and you see that then being proclaimed with all those signs. They're trying to mock Jesus, but like the whole God is not mocked. That at least I grew up with the sense of like God is not mocked means that we need to make sure God's feelings don't get hurt, but like it's just impossible to mock God.
What's the end of that verse?
Yeah.
What is the end of that verse?
The God is not mocked. Yeah. I know I'm quoting it crazy.
I can't. He moves. He writes a minute.
I think it's Paul, isn't it? Yeah, it's Galatians. Galatians 6:7. Let's see. It's like, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Wherever a man soweth, so shall he also reap. So like it's the same idea.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't. So it's the. So what else? Anything else stand out that through this whole study here? How long have we been doing this?
A while.
Forever. A couple of years. It's not a couple.
Yeah. Because it was 1847 when we started.
I think the British was still here. I think we started in the spring. Which spring? Because I remember we were still doing Judges Bible study, getting close to Judges. Like that's and so like that's I don't want to hear it. It's that kind.
No, but it was thorough. I guess.
Yeah,
it was.
Good. Yeah, no, this was a good one. Good. So we'll do serving challenge next, and that was pretty good. And then after that, we'll just be a week behind
OCD.
Yeah, we'll be a week behind on those, and then I don't think I have another trip planned. When we go out on a Thursday. So really Thanksgiving. So, but that could always shift. But yeah, so it's good. It was good study here. It go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So for everyone that's watching online, thank you for joining us today.
Gotcha.
All right.